Good morning, students. I hope so. Everyone is good and everyone is fine. So, we have completed off with this chapter Money and Credit from Economics, and today we are going to discuss all the NCERT question and answers, exercise question and answer solution in this particular lecture. So, there are probably 13 questions here, and I am going to let you know the solutions which you have to write in your classwork notebook. So please get ready with your classwork notebook and the book in your hand and with the pen. So this is going to be a classwork where I am going to explain you also these questions and you have to write the answers in your notebook. So let's get started with the lecture of NCERT question and answer solution lecture, chapter number 3, Money and Credit, class 10, subject Economics. So the first question of NCERT exercise here is, you can come to page number 52, from where you can note down the questions as well. It is, I have mentioned here as well, but if you want to know about the questions, it is there on page number 52. So the first question here is, they are asking, in situations with high risk, credit might create further problems for the borrower. Explain. So you have to tell a situation. You can tell this particular answer with an example relating to some situation where there is high risk, where people is one person is taking a credit which might create further problems for the borrower here. You have to explain it how it can create problems for the borrower here. So the answer here is, whether a credit would be useful or not will depend on a number of factors. Basically, if you are taking a loan or any credit, it would be useful or not, it only depends on number of factors like risk involved. तो if basically you are taking a कितना amount of loan आप ले रहे हो, उसमें कितना risk है, आपके पास कितने assets हैं, और आप जिस purpose के लिए ले रहे हो वो successful होगा नहीं होगा, you never know. So basically the number one factor is how much risk is involved in that particular loan. Whether there is some support against a loss, terms of credit, etc. or not. So if unfortunately there is a loss that came up to you, are you be able to surplus it or not? Are you able to repay back or not without even deferring your collateral or any security or any loss? So basically you should have certain kind of support also कि आपको अपना collateral ना बेचना पड़े उस चक्कर में. So it is a fact that in situations with high risk, credit might create further problems for the borrower here. So it is a kind of a fact that you are agreeing also that in situations with high risk, credit might create further problem for the borrower. How? So we are going to give an example also to explain this particular situation. So for example, credit taken by farmers for cultivation might create problems for the farmer at some times. Basically, these credits or loans that we are taken by these farmers for basically for cultivation. So it can create problems for the farmer at some times. Why? How can it create problems for the farmers at some times? First of all, the crop production. The crop production involves high cost on input such as HYV seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, irrigation, etc. So if you are like producing any sort of crop, so the production involves very high cost of HYV seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, irrigation, and etc. All these things are involved. So any of these things failed, and if your crops failed, the production that you are creating it fails, so it can create a huge loss for the farmer there. So the farmers generally take loans at the beginning of the season and they repay the loan after harvest. So many a times it takes a lot of amount for such production of crops. So the farmers take a loan at the beginning of the season when they are producing it, and they repay the loan when the harvest is done and they get the payment. But if the failure of the crop makes the loan repayment is impossible for them, because already they don't have money to even produce these things, or how they can repay that particular loan. So they all depend on that harvest only. Then in order to repay the loan, sometimes they became bound to sell a part of their land as well. So their situation become worse than before, and the incidents of farmers sometimes make them to suicide, especially in Maharashtra. They are burning examples of this situation. Thus, whether a credit would be useful or not, it depends on the various risks that involved in the situation. So many a times you have heard also about if this farming season failed, or the crops are the crops are failed. So what actually the farmers faces, अगर उनकी harvesting नहीं होती है, they go into big debt trap, and they actually go into the suicidal situations happens, and they even burn themselves because they are not able to repay that particular amount. So these horrible situations are being seen and heard also in the newspapers, and in the television also you have seen it. So it is few the examples that whether a credit is useful or not, it only depends on the various risks that is involved in the situation. So you can write this answer that in order to repay the loan, sometimes they became bound to sell a part of their land, and this situation becomes worse than before. And these incidents of farmers suicides, especially in Maharashtra, are the burning examples of the situation. Thus, whether a credit would be useful or not, it depends on the various risks involved in the situation. Now the second question, question number 2. Here the author is asking, how does money solve the problem of double coincidence of bonds? Explain with the example of your own. So here they are asking, how does money solve the problem of double coincidence of bonds here? Explain with the example of your own. So the answer here of this is, in a barter system where goods are directly exchanged without the use of money, double coincidence of bonds is an essential feature here. So basically in the barter system, we have discussed it also. What is barter system? Where goods and services are exchanged with the goods and services that the other person is selling it off. So here money is not being involved, so without the use of money. So by serving as a medium of exchange, money removes the need for double coincidence of bonds here. So here money is not involving, but without the use of it also, it is removing the need for double coincidence of bonds and the difficulties associated with the barter system here. So all the difficulties that they face because they don't have money to sell it off or to buy the things also. So what they do, whatever they have, whatever goods they are having, they can exchange it with the goods that they want. So this is how this double coincidence of bonds work, and money can solve this problem. Without the use of money also as a medium of exchange, it can help many problems, many difficulties which are associated with the barter system here. Like for example, if you have to take an example, you can give it this example. It is no longer necessary for the farmer to look for a book publisher who will buy his cereals at the same time and sell him books. So for example, it is no longer necessary for the farmer here to look for a book who is publisher who will buy his cereals at the same time he sells him the books. So all he has to do is find a buyer for his cereals, and if he has to exchange his cereals for money, he can purchase any goods or services which he needs. So this is because money acts as a medium of exchange here. So if you have to write the answer, you can first of all write why it is necessary, and then you can write it with this example. Of your own also you can give it. I am giving this example, you can write this of your own as well. Now question number 3. How do banks mediate between those who have surplus money and those who need money? So how do these banks mediate between the persons who have the surplus money and those who actually need that particular money? So answer of this question is, we know that banks accept the deposits from the people who have surplus money and also pay an interest on the depositors. So you all must be knowing that the bank accepts the money which the depositors deposit in the bank, in their bank accounts they are having. So for the people who have surplus money, those who want to deposit their money and also pay an interest rate on that. But banks keep only a small proportion of it with themselves, like 15% in India of their deposits as cash with themselves. This is kept as provision to pay the depositors who might come to withdraw the money from their accounts in the bank or any day. So this is kept as a provision to pay the depositors who might come to withdraw the money from their accounts in the bank on any day. So they use the major proportion of the deposits to extend the loans to those who need that particular money, and in this way the banks became the mediator between those who have surplus money and those who need that money. So what they actually do, they take a small proportion with themselves as cash. So if any depositors come to withdraw that particular cash, they can pay them, but they actually give the major proportion of the deposits to extend loans to the persons who need that money. So in this way the banks became the mediator between those who have the surplus money and those who need the money. Now question number 4, look at a 10 rupee note. What is written on top and can you explain the statement? So you must be having you have seen the notes currently जो आजकल हैं. तो हर एक नोट पे अगर आप 10 रुपए का नोट पे देखते हो तो उसमें ऊपर सबसे ऊपर क्या लिखा हुआ होता है, एंड कैन यू एक्सप्लेन दैट पर्टिकुलर स्टेटमेंट? सो इन इंडियन करेंसी एट द टॉप ऑफ द नोट इट इज रिटन रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, that is the one who issues these currency notes on behalf of the central government here. So Reserve Bank of India is the one who issues these currency notes on behalf of the central government, and the statement means that the currency is authorized or guaranteed by the central government here. So here they are assuring that, and it is being authorized also or guaranteed by the central government, and that is the official currency of India. So that is Indian law legislates the use of money as a medium of payment that cannot be refused in setting transaction in India. So that is the only currency they can use to legalize any sort of payment as a medium of payment that cannot be refused in setting any transactions in India. Now question number 5, why do we need to expand formal source of credit in India? So why we need to expand the more of formal source of credit in India? So the answer of this question is, we need to expand more of formal sources of credit in India for many reasons. So the first one is, compared to formal lenders, most of the informal lenders charge much higher interest rates on loans, like 3 to 5% per month, which is 36% a year. So here if you see that compared to the formal lenders, most of the informal lenders here, they charge a very huge amount of interest rate on the loans, like 3 to 5% per month, which is equal to 36% of a year. And besides the higher interest rate, informal lenders impose various other tough conditions. So if in terms of formal sources जो होते हैं उनके पास ऐसे कोई conditions नहीं होती हैं, but if you are taking from any informal lenders, apart from high interest rate, they are imposing various other tough conditions. For example, they make the farmers promise to sell the crop to him at a low price. So they have to they can take certain promises from the farmer that if they are in need of any crop, they have to sell him at a very low price. There is no such condition in the formal sector here. It is can only established in the informal lenders. Next is informal lenders do not treat well with the borrowers. So here the informal lenders do not treat the borrowers very well. On the other hand, there is no such situation and no such situation in the formal sector here. So there is no such situation that happens in the formal sector. Fourth, the Reserve Bank of India supervises the functioning of formal sources of loans. So here they have an advantage that the Reserve Bank of India, who is authorized by the central government, he is the one who supervises all the functioning of the formal sources of loan here. In contrast with that, there are no organization which supervises all the credit activities of lenders in the informal sector. So in the informal sector, there is no one who supervises their activities, and loan taken by the poor people from informal lenders sometimes lend them to debt trap because of the high rate of interest, and the formal source of credit in India still meets only about half of the total credit needs of the rural people here. So it is necessary that the formal source of credit expand their lending, especially in rural areas, so that the dependence on informal sources of credit reduces, as this will also help in the development of the country. Now the next question is, what is the basic idea behind the SHGs for the poor, means self-help groups for the poor? Explain in your own words. So here you have to tell about the basic idea behind these particular self-help groups for the poor. You can explain it in your own words. So the answer of this is, the basic idea behind the self-help groups is to provide a financial resource for the poor through organizing the rural poor, especially women, into small self-help groups. They also provide timely loans at a responsible interest rate without any collateral they require. So thus, the main objective of these self-help groups are, first, to organize rural poor, especially women, into these small self-help groups, to collect savings of their members, to provide loans without collateral, to provide timely loans for a variety of purposes. Fifth, to provide loans at responsible rate of interest and easy terms. And sixth, to provide platform to discuss and act on a variety of social issues such as education, health, nutrition, domestic violence, and etc. Now question number 7. In this, you have to tell what are the reasons why the banks might not be willing to lend to certain borrowers here. So you have to tell the reasons why the banks might not be willing to lend the loan to certain borrowers. So you have to tell the reason. So the banks might not be willing to lend certain borrowers due to the following reasons. First, banks require proper documents and collateral as security against these loans. So some persons fail to meet this requirement here. So many a times these rural people out there, they don't have proper documents or as a collateral to give a security against the loan. So many persons fail to meet these requirements. That's why they are not able to take loan from these banks. Second, the borrowers who have not repaid previous loans, the banks might not be willing to lend them further. So that's also one of the situations. If the borrowers who have not repaid the previous loans here, the banks might not be willing to lend them in the future as well. Third, the bank might not be willing to lend those entrepreneurs who are going to invest in the business with high risk. So bank also not give particular loans to the entrepreneurs who are going to invest in a business where there is a high chances of risk. Fourth, one of the principal objects of a bank is to earn more profit after meeting a number of expenses. So for this purpose, it has to adopt judicious loan and investment policies which ensure fair and stable returns on the funds as well. So these are the points that you can write it on. Now the next question is, in what ways does the Reserve Bank of India supervise the functioning of banks? Why is this necessary? So what are the ways and how does Reserve Bank of India supervises the functioning of banks here? Why it is necessary? So the answer of this question is the Reserve Bank of India monitors the amount of money that banks loan out. So basically the money that banks loan out is the one who monitors by the Reserve Bank of India, and also the amount of cash balance that is maintained by them, it is also monitored by RBI. It also ensures that banks give out loans not just to profiting businesses but also to small cultivators, small scale industries and small borrowers as well. And periodically banks are supposed to submit information to RBI on the amounts lent, to whom and at what rate of interest. So they have to tell each and every detail at what amount they are lending, to whom they are lending and what rate of interest they are lending on it. So this monitoring is necessary to ensure that equality is preserved in the financial sector and that small industries are also given an outlet to grow. So this is also done to make sure that banks do not loan out more money than they are supposed to. So as this can lead to situations like the Great Depression of the 1930s in the USA, which greatly affected the world economy as well. Now question number 9, here you have to analyze the role of credit for development. So you have to tell what is the role of credit in the country's development or any development that is happening in the country. So here credit plays a very crucial role in the country's development. How? Because by sanctioning loans to developing industries and trade, banks provide them with the necessary aid for improvement. This leads to increased production, employment and profits. And however, caution must be exercised in the case of high risk so that losses do not occur. So if you know there is a high risk in this particular situation, you should be very cautious about each and every loan that you are taking and any step that you are taking with that. So this advantage of loans also needs to be manipulated and kept under an administrative hold, because loans from the informal sectors, they can include high rate of interest and that may be more harmful than goods. So for this reason it is important that the formal sector gives out more loans so that borrowers are not duped by these money lenders and can ultimately contribute to our national development. Now the next question is, from here you don't have to do it in your classwork notebook, we are going to discuss it. That's it. From question number 10 to 13 that I have given you as a homework as well, you don't have to write these questions in your classwork notebook, you have to do till question number 9. From here we are just going to discuss it. So here it is one situation where Manav needs a loan to set up a small business. On what basis will Manav decide whether to borrow from the bank or the money lender? You have to discuss. So answer of this is, Manav will decide whether to borrow from the bank or the money lender on the basis of the following terms of credit. You can write it down in your book as well, it is easily, you can write it down. First, rate of interest. Second, requirements, availability of collateral and documentation required by the banker. Mode of repayment. And depending on these factors and of course easier terms of repayment, Manav have to decide whether he has to borrow from the bank or the money lender. Now question number 11, you can see in the book also that it is written, in India about 80% of farmers are small farmers who needs credit for cultivation. So every question having a different situation and I have written the answer according to that. So first situation is, why might banks be unwilling to lend to small farmers? So first answer is, banks might not be willing to lend to small farmers because they don't have collateral security to deposit in the bank and some of these farmers are not in the position of paying these loans. So due to due to already existing loan. So that is the answer of this. Second, what are the other sources from which the small farmers can borrow? So the other sources of borrowing are from moneylender, employer, self-help groups, landlord, etc. Third, explain with an example how the term of credit can be unfavorable for the small farmers. So for example, if a person takes loan from his/her landlord on the basis of security of his/her land, at the end he/she is not able to pay that particular loan, then landlord can sell the particular land they are having and get his money back. Fourth, suggest some ways by which small farmers can get cheap credits. So small farmers can get cheap credits by the help of self-help groups from bank, and they can repay the loan easily after 3 or 4 years. So the rate of interest is also low as compared to other sources of credit here. Now question number 12 is the fill in the blanks. So the first one is majority of the credit needs of the poor, you can write in the book itself, poor households are met from informal sources. Second, high cost of borrowing increase the debt burden. Third, Reserve Bank of India issues currency notes on behalf of the central government. Fourth, banks charge a higher rate of interest on loans than what they offer on deposits. Fifth, collateral is an asset that the borrower owns and uses as a guarantee until the loan is repaid to the lender. So you have to do this in the book itself. And the last question is choose the most appropriate answer. So the first question is, in a self-help groups, most of the decisions regarding saving and loan activities are taken by, the correct answer here is B, by the members. And second, formal sources of credit does not include, the correct answer here is third, that is employers. So we are done with the solution of this NCERT exercise, and you can do this classwork now, and let me you have to just show me till you have the time till afternoon 5 o'clock. You can show me your classwork, and the homework that I am going to issue you, that's assignment, you can show me that till next of this morning. So tomorrow morning you have the time for the homework. So the homework is the assignment you have to do. So the first question is, what do you understand by demand deposits? So you have to write the definition. Second question, what are the modern forms of money and why is the rupee widely accepted as a medium of exchange? Explain 2 reasons. Third question, cheap and affordable credit is crucial for the country's development. Assess this particular statement. Fourth, why it is necessary for the banks and cooperative societies to increase their lending facilities in rural areas. Explain. Fifth, the credit activity of the informal sector should be discouraged. Support the statement with arguments. And question number 6, deposits with the banks are beneficial to the depositors as well as to the nation. Examine this particular statement. So this is the homework. So we are done with this particular lecture, and if you have queries related to the classwork that we have done, any of the questions you want me to explain, you can ask me in the online class. And if you are not able to understand any of the homework question also, you can let me know in the online class. So that's it for this lecture. Thank you so much for listening, and just take care of yourself.